President Trump spoke about his meeting with Kim Jong-un, and he said something that's stunning even for him.
That stuff doesn't work anymore.
Once we know that it can't happen,
right.
And I'm telling you right now, with the relationship I have, it's not going to happen. Hey, you haven't had a rocket test in 7 months. I was with Prime Minister Abe, another good friend of mine from Japan. I said, when's the last time you had a rocket flying over Japan? He said, it has not happened. I said, it won't happen. Don't worry about it.
Are we close to seeing Mr. Kim here at the White House?
Could happen. I mean,
they talked about that yesterday.
I would have him. Yeah, I think it's something that could happen. Yeah. Hey, he's the head of a country, and I mean, he is the strong head. Mm-hmm. Don't let anyone think anything different. Right. He speaks, and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
What? Listen, a lot was made out of this comment, and I think it's all deserved. This isn't an example of like, oh, the left putting their spin on it to get outraged by anything and everything Trump says or does. No, nobody made him say that. He said that, and that sentiment is deeply, deeply, deeply authoritarian. So Donald Trump is in many ways just an old school Machiavellian type character, which is funny because he claims, especially when he ran, he claimed like, oh, I'm above politics. I'm a businessman. I'm just about getting things done. No, that sentiment he expressed there is as political as it gets. So you know what he respects? He respects power. He respects a strong man. So a guy who inherited a country but then cracked down in a brutal and vicious way to make sure that nobody threatened his authority and his total grip on the country, Trump looks at that and goes, oh, yes. He doesn't look at it and say immoral, unethical, wrong, stupid system to have, stupid way to run a country. He looks at it and he's like, oh, he consolidated power. He's a strong leader. You know, people sit up at attention when he talks. I want that with my people, too. They sit up at attention because he's a complete and utter dictator, and if they don't sit up at attention, they get dragged off to a concentration camp. That's literal. I'm sure all you guys saw the video of when Kim Jong-il died, how everybody had to do this over-the-top crying, this totally fake crying, to try to, I'm so upset that Kim Jong-il died. Oh, see how hard I'm crying? Please don't drag me off to the concentration camp. I really don't want to lose my life because I'm not being sufficiently sad enough to appease the government here. That's the exact dynamic at work when Kim Jong-un gets respect from his country and when they sit up at attention. They're doing it because they have to do it because they're being terrorized by this guy. Now, again, everybody knows who listens to this show. I'm not, by no stretch of the imagination, am I in favor of U.S. military action, South Korean military action. And in fact, I'm actually on the side of Trump in stopping these stupid, really provocative war games that are an offensive threat right on North Korea's border. Totally in favor of that, totally in favor of a peace deal. But the way that this guy's mind works, Trump, that should concern the shit out of you there, because that's like, he's jealous of a dictator. That's what that is. He's genuinely jealous of a dictator. He looks at that and he thinks that is fucking awesome. And there was another story, we didn't cover it, but in the context of this story, it makes sense to bring it up. He was asked or something like that about the president of China now serving as president for life, and he basically said something along the lines of, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, that's awesome. Again, there were conspiracy theories under Obama. Rush Limbaugh pushed it, among others, where he said, oh, I think Obama's going to try to serve a third term and not leave office. Now, he didn't do that, so I'd love for Rush Limbaugh to come out now and say he's wrong, but that's never going to happen. He never admits he's wrong, even though he's been wrong about almost fucking everything he's ever said. But here you have Donald Trump. Imagine Obama said this shit that Trump is saying. Obama was like, oh, he's a strong leader. He's a strong leader in North Korea. I like how I'm giving Obama the Trump motions. If Obama said he's a strong leader, when he talks, his people sit up at attention. I want that to happen with my people, too. I think the Fox News building would implode from all the outrage because they'd say, he's a fucking dictator. He makes his people do that. If they don't do that, they get locked up. So I guess you're in favor of authoritarianism. I guess you're in favor of being a dictator and a tyrant in your own right. I guess you want to force people to like you instead of doing stuff to get free people to like you. So that's what this is. He pretends like he's for freedom, Trump does, but then this is like, that's the exact opposite of freedom. Freedom is people have a right to express their beliefs, their views, and those views could be for you or against you. And this is a free society, and that's how people are supposed to act in that society, and they're supposed to have their voice heard, but he doesn't like any dissent. And that's no surprise from a guy who screams fake news at every time there's anything that portrays him in a negative fashion. It's not like he's sitting there and combing through all the stories and saying, an objective reading of this story says that this one is fair, but this other one is not. No, anything he doesn't, that portrays him in a negative way, even if it's true, he screams fake news. And now you know how little tolerance he has for dissent. I mean, if he's saying, and he clearly is, I want my people to act like these terrorized peasants under an authoritarian leader, well, then what you're saying is, I really wish I was an authoritarian leader and everybody would fall in line. He's got those impulses, man, those undemocratic, genuinely childish impulses. So it's hilarious that a guy who ran on this idea of a law and order, that is the most fundamental opposite. That's the antithesis of law and order right there. That mentality is, I'm above the law. I am the law. When I say law and order, that means I get to do whatever I want and you get to fall in line and tell me I'm awesome.